So, I just saw the Meg 2. For context, I remember seeing the first one a few years back and thinking, yeah, it was okay. I mean, I don't think it was gory enough, but Jason Statham was fun, and it sets the future up for a really fun franchise where you're just constantly getting barraged by megalodons. And now here we are. I think it's been, 4 years since the first one. And is it any good? Initial reviews right now have been saying not nice things about it. I've seen a 22% Rotten Tomatoes score. I think it's on 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb right now. Is it that bad? That's the main question. It's probably what I've titled this video. And initial reaction is no. It's nowhere near as bad as the Rotten Tomatoes score makes it out to be. It's not perfect. Right, it's got many issues in many areas it could have been improved on, but I think there's plenty good in this film. This is a no-spoiler review, so I'm only going to speak about the things that were actually revealed in the trailers, so you don't have to worry about that. It starts off with that prehistoric section from the trailer. It's pretty much beat for beat. There's not really any surprises there. The Megalodon drags the T-Rex underwater, and then the title screen pops up. Yeah, it was exciting sequence. It was probably one of the better scenes in the film, which says something. And then you're introduced to Jason Statham again in a really funny way. I actually really like the way that they basically reintroduced him to the film, and there's a really great action sequence that I thought it was shot well, it was well paced, the music was pretty good, and it was just an interesting sequence. And then we're taken to a research facility where we're introduced to some pretty wacky ideas that I'm sure that some people aren't going to really like, but I think it was actually executed pretty well in the film. It doesn't really dwell on it too much, and it doesn't really have that much of an impact to the overall story, so I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. And then they go to the trench, they go to the Marinara Trench, and we're introduced to the Megalodons as we've seen in the trailer. It's a pretty fun sequence. I don't think it really plays up the horror of actually being that far down into the ocean. Obviously, we have the context of that submarine that recently imploded, and that must have been absolutely terrifying. They use exoskeletons, right? We've seen it in the trailer, and that's what they use to walk across the bottom of the Marinara Trench. And they were okay. There's a moment in the film where they show you how strong these things are, that they can break concrete, and they're super powerful, but they don't really do anything with it. They don't really make use of the fact that this is like a super powered suit. I was really hoping it would show up somewhere towards the end, but no, once they're out of the trench, you don't ever see them again. Unfortunately, when you get to the trench, the film kind of slows down. Obviously, it's called The Trench, and you probably spend a good third, maybe a bit more than that, of the film actually down there. They go to this underwater base. Again, you see it in the trailer, and yeah, they kind of just hang around there for a while. The film kind of forgets that it's a shark film, which is a bit disappointing. You're still watching Jason Statham, and you're watching him kick ass, so he's still fun to watch, even though the Megalodons are kind of forgotten about. They missed the opportunity there to really hammer in how scary it would be to be in this underwater base while there's 3 Megalodons trying to eat it, trying to break it apart. That's a scary thing. Imagine they could break in at any point and you'd all die. But that doesn't really happen in the film. He's just kind of in the underwater base, and it's kind of safe, and then when they leave, it's not safe. That's basically how it works. And speaking about the underwater sequence, when you're introduced to these new Marinara Trench MEGs, they say that they're the biggest MEGs that anyone's ever seen. You see that it's the biggest MEG that anyone's ever seen, and it's oh, that's cool. What's it gonna do? Because it's the biggest one, right? What's it gonna do? And it not much. They just kind of say that it's the biggest, but it doesn't do anything with that size to really justify it being the biggest. They just kind of said it to be this offhanded comment. Because of the last 30 minutes, which you see in the trailer, you see a little tease of it. It's set on the beach on this island called Fun Island, just stupid. And that's a lot of fun. The last 30 minutes are probably the best part of the film, because that's when it really hammers down the cheese of the actual concept. People are jumping out of helicopters in slow motion. You got fun jokes, and the jokes in this film are pretty funny. DJ especially is the funniest character in the film. I really liked him. Wu Jing as Yuming, I think, probably understood the tone of the film more than quite a lot of the cast. I quite liked his character. Quite a lot of the film is taken up by this really unnecessary and convoluted subplot about corporate espionage and going down to the trench to mine for resources, right? That takes up so much of the film, and I'm just like, I do not care. Show me the sharks eating people. Where are they? What's happening with them? So unfortunately, quite a lot of it was taken up by that. So if you don't like espionage stuff, then that'll probably bore you. But once it forgets that subplot even exists, it gets really fun. Like I said, the last 30 minutes are really fun. You see the Kraken. I'm going to call it the Kraken. You got those little amphibious creatures that come back, and they're quite fun. I like them. You got some kind of like almost Jurassic Park-like sequences where you can see them peeking through the grass, and it's like from their perspective. And some points they were like jumping out. There's actually a surprising amount of jump scares in this film. I was sat next to two people, and they were both actually properly screaming, which was really annoying. Don't do that. I'm not here to see your reaction. I didn't pay money to see you go, ah! Like, genuinely, that's how they did it. And there'd be points where it wasn't even, like, anything to scream at. There's the shot from the trailer where the Kraken opens its eyes behind one of the divers, and she went, ah! Why? It's silent! It wasn't even a jump scare sound! And there's a bit later on where the Megalodon jumps out of the water, and I saw a guy go, what? People, man. What's going on with the world? But, I mean, that's a sign that people were having fun, and that last 30 minutes is when people were reacting the most, so I guess that's a good thing. So yeah, to summarize, really good introduction of the film. Like, the first 10 minutes I actually really liked, with the dinosaurs and then Jason Statham's action sequence, and then it gets really boring for a while. There's a lot of corporate espionage nonsense, stuff about the environment, and just kind of nothing going on for a bit, because it forgets that it's a shark film called MEG 2, The Trench. But then the last 30 minutes, absolute cheesy nonsense. I loved it. That was like worth the admission price on its own. That last 30 minutes is probably better than the entirety of the first film. One of my issues with the first film was there wasn't a lot of gore, and unfortunately it kind of carries through to this film as well. Although there is one shot where the Megalodon basically opens its mouth and swallows a bunch of people, and it's basically from the perspective of inside its mouth, and you can still see them struggling and screaming alive inside its mouth, which I actually thought was quite haunting. It reminded me of that scene from Nope where all the people are being swallowed by the alien creature. It's very brief, but it's a little bit frightening. But if you're easily bored by people talking, you might get a bit bored by this. And if you're kind of uninterested in dark and industrial looking corridors, that's quite a lot of the film. But is it better than the Rotten Tomatoes score makes it out to be? Yes, I don't really know any films that deserve to be a 22%. If you're going in and expecting anything more than a cheesy popcorn film with sharks and big squids, you're going to be disappointed. I don't know what's up the critics' arses recently, but they need to lighten up. I had quite a lot of fun with it. I left the cinema satisfied. Didn't feel like I wasted my time. Could have been better. The pacing could have been a bit better towards the middle of the film, and there could have been a bit more shark action, but it was a good time. I had fun. I was satisfied with it. Didn't leave thinking I was cheated by anything. That last 30 minutes had left you on a high note. But yeah, I'm probably going to give MEG 2, The Trench, a 6 out of 10. It is what it is. It could have been better. I had fun. It's not exactly memorable, but I hope to see Jason Statham going, it's a Megalodon again. I would very much like that. So that was my review of MEG 2. What did you think of it? Have you seen it yet? When are you gonna watch it? And what did you think of it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and stomp the notification button to become a resident of Dangerville today. And be sure to give this video a Kong-sized thumbs up. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you, residents, in the next one.